Wednesday night, 6 p.m. Eastern Standard Time. That can only mean one thing. Live after hours with Chuck Bowser, RCDD, your favorite RCDD. Kaylin's in the house. Hey, Kaylin, what's going on? I just clicked it on, so you should see it on YouTube now, Shotzi. Let me know. So, been an interesting week. Interesting week. Get to teach a live class later this week. Just got done teaching a class today. And I love teaching classes. Lots of great questions. So, welcome to the class. Oh, hey, what are you drinking? Chuck is drinking water today. Water, actually, with a peppermint candy in it. So it gives me a little bit of peppermint taste to it. Love that. Love that. Tell me in that chat box, what are you drinking? What are you drinking, Shotzi? Is it a Diet Dr. Pepper? Kaylin, what are you drinking? Um, Shotzi, let me know if it's still not working on the YouTube. According to this, I'm broadcasting on it. So there you go. And acronym challenge. Acronym challenge. Let's pick one. Pick an acronym. Pulling it out of the Bixie ICT Field Practices Guide. Let's pick a good one. One that people aren't going to be able to get. ED. No, I did that one already. What's a good acronym? FMC. FMC. What does that mean? What does that acronym mean? FMC. Tell me in the chat box, what does that mean? Studio chat. Let me see. No, that's not there. There he is. There he is. Yeah, I hit the live on the TikTok first, and then I realized it wasn't broadcasting to LinkedIn. Had to fix that real quick. That's why the show was technically a minute late today. So, anyways, the acronym challenge for today is FMC, and it is not Ford Motor Company. It is not Ford Motor Company. Tell me in the chat box. Kaylin's drinking water. Shotzi's drinking Diet Dr. Pepper. As usual. As usual. Yep. And nobody wants to even take a guess at that? FMC? Huh? No? No? Flexible metal conduit. Flexible metal conduit. That's what that means. Yes. There you go. Shotzi got it. All righty. So there we go. Let's get right into the questions. Oh, did you see last week's episode? Pretty cool, wasn't it? Had the Light Brigade on. And we talked about their new certification processes. So got some other interesting stuff coming on pretty cool too. So next week. So make sure you watch it. So the first question came to me from Instagram, and it says, Chuck, how can I tell if electromagnetic interference, also known as EMI, electromagnetic interference, is messing with my install? What are some real signs that I should watch for? And that is a great question, one that every technician really needs to understand to be able to identify, because EMI can be really hard to spot, right? But there are some dead giveaways that's going to tell you that there's a problem with EMI and it's interfering with your system. Now, first off, what kind of a system are we talking about, right? Now, if you got like an AV system or a video system, you might hear weird sounds on the audio gear, right? Or maybe like even if you got like a radio system tied with that, right? If you're near power lines or radio speakers, you're going to start hearing maybe like a humming or a cracking, right? But yeah, we actually had this problem at church not too long ago. They had some cables laying on the backside of the stage, and they were starting to get some humming on it. And so I explained to them what EMI was, and I went over and fixed it literally in a little bit of time. Another thing that'll show that could be an issue with EMI is damage to gear. Damage to your gear. You know, those power surges and even lightning strikes. Lightning strike doesn't have to actually hit your house or actually hit the cable, right? You can actually, there we go. It just got to hit the ground nearby. And it can really, really hurt your ICT components, the cable, the connectors, the equipment that's attached to them. And even if it's not a direct hit, you get, the voltage will rise and fall as it hits the ground. And that is not really good for any kind of equipment. So you may not see that one right away, but it will definitely shorten the lifespan of your equipment. So if you are a service tech and you go to a certain customer and you see equipment keep failing because of that very reason, you might want to take a look at that. Another way that it can show up is fuzzy or distorted screens. Okay, especially if you're around heavy industrial gear. Not too long ago, what was it? A few years back, I actually got to do the steel toe tour at the Harley factory in Pennsylvania, and they had some big industrial gear, right? And so what drives that is going to be big transformers and stuff like that, and that magnetic field is going to wreak havoc on video terminals. You can actually see this. I did this not as an experiment one time. I hate to actually admit this, but I put a magnet next to my screen, and it messed it up. Right. Another way you can tell if EMI is present is fried components from electrostatic discharge. Ed, the old tech guy's in the house. What's happening, Mr. Ed? Yeah, so ESD shocks. They can discharge and kill sensitive electronics. That's where you really should be wearing those wrist straps. Think of it as an invisible death by 1,000 shocks. But probably the biggest one that you're going to see is signal glitches or drop packets, right? Your voice or your data it isn't coming through cleanly, right? There's a lot, it seems to be lagging and stuff like that, right? JJGG, lots of money to be made. JJGG. I don't know what that means. Yes. So watch out for that, especially if you're running unshielded cable near power circuits. And you know what? You don't always have to run shielded cabling. I'm going to say this loud so people in the back can hear. You don't always need shielded cable. In fact, you rarely need shielded cable. I was talking to a friend of mine not too recently. He's putting in a house, cable in a house. And he bought shielded cable. Why? Yeah. So pro tip, always keep your low voltage cable separated from high voltage. Follow the rules, right? 12 inches. If you have to cross electrical, cross at a 90. That'll suffice for the vast majority of your installs, right? JJGG comment saying, no money in the low voltage industry. I don't know about that. I missed that comment. I'm making good money. Just saying. Daryl, the RCD's in the house. The new Tempest regulations prohibit any copper in skiffs, all fiber. I understand that 100%. Question number 2. This one came to me on Facebook. It says, Chuck, I've always seen those IP ratings like IP67 on enclosures. What do those numbers actually mean? How do I explain this to my apprentice? Pretty simple. IP, ingress protection. It's just a way to measure how you keep water or dust from getting into your equipment. That's what the IP stands for. And that's a great question. It's one that every installer really needs to understand. It took me to Hawaii to teach. Exactly right, TJ. I'm so jealous of you guys. I've never gotten to teach. That's the one state that I have not been to yet is Hawaii. So IP, it's basically a scorecard for how close or how well an enclosure or something's can protect against solids like dust or liquids like water spray or submersion. And the format is basically pretty simple. The IP67. The 6 means something and the 7 means something. Somebody asked me, what is an RCDD? Let me finish these questions and I'll get back to you. So the first letter talks about protection from solids. The second letter is protection from water. So look at it this way. IP67. So there's an IP 0, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, and 6. IP 0 something means there's no protection at all. If it's got a 1, an IP 1 something something, that means it keeps out the big stuff that's 50 millimeters, okay? Like, maybe like a hand. IP2 is medium-sized stuff, all the way to 12.5 millimeters. IP3 is small tools, like anything down to 2.5 millimeters. See you, TJ. Tell Lee I said hi. IP4 is wires. IP5 is dust protected. Like some little bit of dust might get in, but not enough to hurt anything. And then IP6 means nothing gets in. So IP6 means it protects against dust. Now the second letter talks about its water protection level. So 0 means no water protection. 1 means vertical water drips all the way up to IP67. 67 means that can be submerged under 1 meter of water, which is 3.28 feet, for 30 minutes and still function. That's what IP67 means. Now, there's also an IP68, which even gives you even more protection. More protection. So, if you're doing something like I just had a show on outdoor PoE stuff with PoE Texas a couple weeks ago, and we talked about one of their outdoor rated PoE devices, and we talked about being IP67 rated. So make sure that you match the IP rating to the environment. Be careful not to overbuild because that could definitely blow your budget and cause the customer to go a different direction, right? But you also don't want to underprotect it either because now you're risking downtime or you're risking damage to the actual cable itself. Next question, Chuck, what is the difference between fixed, variable, and zoom and multiple camera lenses? I keep seeing these terms, but I'm not sure when to use each one. That is such a great question. You have to understand all the different types of lens types when designing a surveillance system to make sure that it actually does what it's supposed to do: protect and document. Well, it doesn't actually protect, right? It documents. Some people say you have a surveillance system in it kind of deters crimes. I'm sorry. Somebody wants to steal something, they're going to steal something. All a surveillance system does is documents the process to help the investigation. But here you go. So here's a couple different types of camera lenses that you'll find. First one is a fixed lens. Now, a fixed lens only has one focal length. And basically what you see is what you get. If the view's not right, you got to switch lenses, right? You might have to go to a different type of lens. A variable lens means it is adjustable, but it's adjustable only by hand. That means that you're going to have to climb the ladder and you're going to have to adjust it. You might want to have a buddy with you so they're watching the screen, right? CCTV is only to keep honest people honest. Exactly right, Galen. So you got to put somebody in there watching the monitor while you're on your ladder, adjusting the variable lens, and it makes you do it. Now you got zoom lenses. Now zoom lenses, they're motorized and have remote adjustable. So you can actually be in the control room and you can actually zoom in and zoom out. So you can change it. And this is really good for high security spots, right? So you really want details. And then you have multiple lenses, aka multifocal, which combines multiple lens all view into one. Think of a 90 degree or 180 degree or even a 360 degree camera. Although I don't really know any 360 degree security cameras. So the approach for that is always use a fixed camera when the scene is never going to change. For example, the one on my that shoots down my driveway, right? That scene's never going to change, right? You want to use a variable lens for some basic flexibility. So again, I got a camera out by the chickens. If I want to be able to zoom or zoom out because I want to see more or less of the chicken coop, and zoom for be able to zoom in and out, right? Question number 4. This comes from Reddit. Chuck, I'm planning on a front projection system in a medium-sized conference room. What do I need to think about besides just about mounting the projector? Well, you're already a step ahead of everybody else because most people don't think about the actual things you need to do for putting in front style projections. First, think about the projector location. The projector location, right? Because the bigger the screen, the brighter that projector's got to be, and you want to make sure that you aim it right. Anything no less than 30-degree projection angle, because if you do that, you're going to blind the speaker. Okay, and I've been there. I've been in conference rooms where the projector shined in my eyes, and boy, it wiped me out. Right now we have AI cameras which can give cameras new options and summary events and names and license plates. Yes, I've seen those. I've seen those. I've never played with one, but I've seen them. Also, think about getting back to what should I think about the presenter location. Don't let the presenter block the image. Make sure that you keep their path out of that optimal beam. So don't put the lectern right in the front. Maybe put it off to the side. And you'll see this a lot for like the tiered conference rooms. Think about the screen height, right? Keep the bottom edge of that screen about 6 feet off the floor, so that way presenters can walk around without doing shadow puppets on the screen. Again, this is really going to work for that tiered system. You really need to think about aesthetics. Motorized lifts can hide a projector when it's not in use, and that's fancy, and it keeps the room clean and functional. But my experience with that kind of stuff is, if you add complexity to it, you're adding potential failures to it as well. Acoustics, projectors are loud, lots of noise. So you want to make sure that the people in the room can hear the speaker. So you might need to isolate it from the booth so that way so it doesn't sound like a leaf blower. Right? And then the lens. One size doesn't fit all. Larger venues often will need interchangeable lenses based on the throw distance and the screen size. So think about all those things, right? Um, also tension screens. I'll touch base on that real quick, right? They can keep a flat image edge to edge, but if the space is tight, look in the screen fabrics that hold the tension internally, right? Would you give advice to a new guy in a rocky job situation? What would you? Yes, I will. But I need to know a little bit more about the situation, though. Chuck, I am continuity testing a Cat 6 drop and it passed, but my certifier flagged it as a split pair. What does that mean and what should I be checking? So, wire map test. Wire map test looks for a lot of things. First, it's looking for continuity. It's looking to make sure that when you put a signal on pin 1, which is all the way over on the left, on the port on the patch panel, it comes out of pin 1 on the other side. 1 to 1, 2 to 2, 3 to 3, 4 to 4, all the way up to 8. It's making sure that there's no opens, brokes, shorts, transposals, or reversals. So it's able to successfully transmit all the way on both sides. One of the things you might find is shorts. A short can happen when two conductors were left too long and they're touching each other inside the jack. Same thing at the patch panel. A short can also happen if a drywaller screwed your cable between a metal stud and the gypsum board. It can also happen if something heavy got set on that cable too. It's looking for transposable pairs. So when you look at it, APHC, there's 8 pins in it. Pins 1 and 2 is one transmission pair. Pins 3 and 6 is another transmission pair. Pins 4 and 5 is another, and then 7 and 8 is the fourth, right? So transposed pairs means, for example, the conductors that are on, let's just use the most common thing you'll come across. They terminated A on one side and B on the other side. In that scenario, it's going to show that pins 1 and 2 and 3 and 6 are reversed. That means they terminated A on one side and B on the other side. Okay. Then you got reversed pairs. Reverse pairs is when you flip a transmit and receive conductor. So you might flip, the white orange with the orange white, or the white blue with the blue white. Okay. Also watch out for the shield and continuity, especially for your shielded cable solutions, because if you don't have it bonded to a ground, you're not going to have a really good performance. So here's the thing, though, right? Split pairs are going to look fine if you're testing with a tone generator or a resistance meter, but it's really going to kill the performance. That's why certifiers are really worth every single penny. Question number 6. This one came to me on TikTok. Chuck, hearing about N plus 1, 2N, 2N plus 1, redundancy and job specifications. Can you break those down, and what do they actually mean to us to make it sense in the field? And that's a great question. And this is one that I still struggle with, because I can never remember them off the top of my head. I have to actually go look in the books. But they're really just talking about redundancy. So when you hear the word N, right, when they say N, they basically mean the minimum you need to get the job done. You have exactly what you need. There's no backup. If something fails, then the whole entire system goes down, right? That's what N means. N plus 1 means you have one spare. So if one part fails, the operation will continue. Think of, for example, like an HVAC unit in a data center, right? Let's say that they've done the calculations. They calculate they only need 2 HVAC systems, but they put in a third one. So that's 2N plus 1. That way, if one of those 3 goes down, it can still work correctly. N plus 2 means you now have 2 spares. If you can lose up to 2 components, right? And now this is really going to help for your uptime and your environments where repairs are going to take time. 2N means you have a second full system. It's like a duplicate. So you got 2 MDFs, 2 data centers, two main cross connects, 2 horizontal cross connects, 2 backbones. Everything is doubled. So that way, if one of the systems goes down, the other one can keep running. Okay, then you have 2N plus 1. That means you got 2 full systems, and each one of those systems has a full spare. Think of like Fort Knox redundancy. Okay, this is used where downtime is just simply not an option. Period. Think of like a call center for like 911, right? You don't want that going down. Now just let me break this down so people can understand. So, N means you have one drill, right? N plus one means you have one drill and you have a backup drill in your truck. 2N means you have a second toolbox. 2N plus one means you have a second toolbox plus backup drills in both. So lots and lots of things. So N plus one network, one protect sleeps until needed, 2N, two working, one protect, one sleeping. Right. So yeah, it gets, yeah, you see this a lot in data center stuff. Let me get back to this question here. Small company, 7 techs, and a bad management, government work, and I love it, but I'm forced to be a hack. Okay, so the issue here is, it sounds to me like management. Is it so? It sounds like it's a small company. Is it the owner that's bad, or is it one of his managers that's bad? If it's the owner, there's not a whole lot you can do. That owner's going to be there till the day that company goes out of business. One of the things I've learned is if you have a bad manager, sometimes you can outweight them. You really can. The question is, can you deal with that, right? Have you tried talking to them and saying, look, here's the correct way to do this. Can we think about doing it that way? Right? And but doing it the right way is going to actually help with the all management. All management owners are great guys. So there you go. Is the management a family member to the owner? That's another question. Is the manager, right? I haven't, but many have had. They get shot down. Okay, so the real question is, are they paying you enough to not worry about it? And what is your work ethic? When I say work ethic, I'm not talking about showing up for. I'm talking about doing quality work. How much is that worth to you? Me, I would probably start job searching, right? Because there's a. I'm not going to do shabby work just because somebody wants to save money. That's just it's not going to happen, right? Thanks for time tonight. Any update on the estimator's course? I have not had the chance to think about it, unfortunately. Finally, get you live, Chuck. The greatest RCDD. I appreciate that. I don't think I'm the greatest RCDD. I'm just the one that knows how to get in front of a camera. There's a lot of RCDDs far better, far superior to this one. Just saying. I know lots of them too. Question number 7. Chuck, we have a new guy on our crew asking about lockout tagout procedure, and what does that really mean? Can you break it down simply so we can all get it? Absolutely. Lockout tagout, or you might even see the acronym LOTO. It's all about keeping people safe from getting shocked or crushed or hurt by equipment or cabling. And it happens a lot when somebody's not paying attention. So here's how it works, right? So it's a safety procedure. If you take an OSHA 10, you've heard this lockout tagout procedure. They've probably even gone into it in some depth, right? So what's really going to happen is you need to stop so people don't work on or turn something on while you're working on it, because you can get really, really hurt. And it's going to be critical. So what does it do? If it goes wrong, or if the lockout tagout procedure is skipped, right? What potential things? Equipment may not fully stop. The power wasn't completely cut off, and that could hurt you, right? Leftover energy wasn't drained. Somebody restarts it accidentally, or the area just wasn't clear when it was restarted. Now, what can that result in? Injuries. Injuries. And trust me, as a person who has a broken finger from something stupid, I swear it seems like I'm always hurting myself now I'm talking about this, because it wasn't too long ago that I almost injured my eye mowing the lawn, right? Think about lockout tagout procedures for fiber optic cabling. When you're working on fiber optic cabling, if you look at a live fiber with your unprotected eye, you can damage the retina in your eye. So what do you do to protect yourself against that? You don't have to go out and buy a fancy lockout tagout thing. You can literally go to Walmart and buy a $5 Plano tackle box. Just make sure it has the ability to have like a lock on it. Buy that, get a Dremel, do a little notch on the side of it, run your fiber in, do a couple loops with it, Velcro it together, and then close it, lock it, take your labeling machine, say lockout tagout procedure, um, call this phone number before plugging it back in. Okay. Then you made yourself a lockout tagout box for fiber for literally like $6.25. Thank you for the advice. They do pay me okay, but management is trying to buy out the owner. You're in a tough situation there with that. Really, truly are. Best thing for you is keep your options open. If you like working there, stay working there, but keep your options open if you know what I mean. Okay. So lockout tagout procedures. What are some of the benefits of them? Number one, you can prevent injuries. That's always a good thing. Downtime, people getting hurt and stuff. You can also avoid OSHA fines and lawsuits, which is going to save you money on the insurance side, or save the company money on the insurance side. It's going to keep those critical systems up and running, and it's going to maximize the uptime. So there's lots of advantages to it. If it's done right, lockout tagout procedures, you need to be able to identify the issue, right? You need to make sure to isolate it, lock it, and make sure that nobody can put it back on you. So lockout tagout procedures. Okay, question number 8. Ooh, holy cow, is it 6:28 already? It sure is. 6:28. Question number 8. Chuck, I've seen people use regular grout for fire stop. What is the big deal? Is it basically the same stuff? No, it's not. It's cementous material. It's mortar-like. Mortar-like. Okay. Most low voltage contractors do not install cementous material. That's usually done by the big fire stopping companies that do fire stopping for everything. There's a lot of things you got to worry about when it comes to doing fire stopping. Now, let's talk about fire stop comes in a dry powder or sometimes pre-mixed, and you can mix it with water on site. It's typically going to be used for your larger penetrations, right? Because what happens with putty or caulk is it tends to sag. Cementitious material won't do that. Once you put it in and it sets up, it is rock solid. But you better make sure that you leave yourself room for thermal expansion or movement, because cementitious material, cementitious. In case if you've never done concrete, I've poured some concrete here on the farm. When you mix it with water, it heats up and it expands. That is not good for cabling. Not good for cabling. You're talking about crushing the cabling now, and you're talking about heat on your cabling. So cementitious material, you got to be super careful. I would leave it up to the professionals to do that. Never use standard grout or plaster instead of a real fire stop. You really need to get some fire stop training. There's lots of free fire stop training out there. I've got a fire stop training course that I'm going to be recording here soon. And I know I've been saying that for 2 years, but I'm putting up a wall in the new podcast studio Thursday night, and doing that recording hopefully next week or so, and put that up so people can start taking that. So make sure that you take that class. It's not fire stopping. It's done right. You can literally not just fail inspection, but you can also go to jail. Who wants to go to jail? I don't want to go to jail. I don't know about you, but I don't want to go to jail. I just don't. Okay, it is 6:30. I still have two more questions, but I really don't have the time tonight because I got a study group tonight, and Mama is making dinner in the other room, and boy, does it smell good. Boy, does it smell good. So let's go ahead and sign off for tonight. I'll put those two questions in next week, and we'll see everybody next Wednesday night at 6 p.m. Welcome to... Oh, hit the wrong button. I hate when that happens. Hate when that happens. Close this down. This is the one I wanted.
Thanks for listening to Let's Talk Cabling, the award-winning podcast where knowledge is power and the low-voltage industry connects. If you enjoyed today's episode, don't forget to subscribe, leave a review, and share it with your crew. Got questions or ideas for the show? Chuck wants to hear from you. Stay connected, stay informed, and always aim for excellence. Until next time, keep those cables clean, your standards high, and your future bright. Let's talk cabling, empowering the industry, one connection at a time.
All right, peeps.